from Smash Bros. He's from a different game.
Yeah, I know that.
What?
What's he from? He's from. No, he's not. This is not. His game is famous for sneaking. Like he does open combat, but he also sneaks a bunch. I get it now. Can I make you a hat?
That's a snake.
Did you put too much in there? Oh. Let's see. I should comment. He first offered a hat, and then he said a dog.
I'm taking a snake.
Head.
Very nice.
Wiener dog. Wiener dog.
I have an X-Phone 360.
I have no clue what that is.
It's nothing. I just know
That looks like a ketchup.
This is very good, man.
That looks like a ketchup bottle.
It does.
Is that a ketchup bottle?
It's a beautiful dog.
It looks like one of those ketchup bottles in that one restaurant where they do you want some ketchup and then squirt it towards your shirt
the string
and then
comes
the
out?
string comes out.
Oh, I love that. I had one as a kid. I got it at the Disneyland Magic Shop.
So funny.
I'm hopefully gonna go to Disneyland during.
I've never been to Disneyland.
I just went to Disneyland yesterday.
Actually, yeah, he did.
You would see
Yeah,
He sent
he-
me some pictures.
Yeah. I went to. Yeah, I.
Oh, Daniel. Daniel, have
ha.
No,
you
it's
been on
good.
a Warriors trip?
I haven't actually.
Oh my gosh, there's a hill that's awesome. And like literally you're just driving in a van, you're way in the back so you can't see. And then look, this is what the road is.
Jeez.
Weston.
I have a video of us going off of it.
Weston, are you staying for second?
Yes, I am.
I'm
Watch.
fine.
Watch. So this
My
is
mom's
in the
gonna
van.
be back by second service.
Wait.
Oh wait, no, she's gonna be back by Monday.
Wait, what? Can I see?
That's great. You did not oversell that. That's magical.
Oh, and then this was in the mall.
They don't have Monaco for.
And then this was in the mall.
Fudge, the
iOS.
cops are coming again.
Who says get off?
Oh, when the
Wait. Could I see the video of you going down the road or whatever?
Oh, yeah.
I gotta
You've
get out
already
of
seen it
some
like
cops
20 times.
I have. I've never seen it.
The cops are coming. 16, 15 seconds.
Wait, what?
Get out of the bank.
Oh my
Might be able
god.
to make it. No, I went the wrong
Scared.
way.
Now let's see. What's one of the? I'm gonna make Matt into an angel. Like
Oh,
literally.
wait.
Don't.
Wait, no, I'm gonna wait till
Damn
one
it,
of the
the
Don't
girls.
make me an angel. We're gonna make them an angel.
Okay, so this is
What are we gonna get there?
Monaco.
Watch videos of that.
Oh yeah, I totally.
Wait, what is that again?
So it's all about lines of sight. So like the guards have like flashlights and
And you gotta-
there's like cameras and all kinds of things that show you where they can see. And you have to like go around and try and knock guards out. You have to steal stuff. You have to pick locks.
Kind of like this.
Oh.
But you have to make sure you don't get seen. So you can like cut out the lights and then suddenly a flashlight is all they can see.
So Daniel, that's kind of like the Pac-Man game we played at camp. The first game we played at.
Oh yeah, that one.
Oh yeah, actually.
Yeah, it's a lot like that.
Yeah, like.
So there's also different characters you can pick for different classes, and they have different abilities. And so you have to try and assemble a team, very Ocean's 11 style. Sometimes you pick the wrong combo of characters, you won't all be able to do the same things. So some are very stealth based, some are very attack based,
Yeah.
some are speed based, some are lock pick based, and so you have to make sure you have the right combination to actually get the job done. Like,
So it's kind of like this guy where you have to pay for like picking lock sets and stuff.
Why does
Yeah.
Tuesday have a driving on it?
why wouldn't you have a driving on?
Okay.
Matt, why don't you have a driving on you?
Tyler?
hard to
I've
believe
never
anything
had
Washington
this.
says.
Yeah, I can't read the top of the
Mark,
board.
no.
Oh, I know who's done it.
I can't
Oh,
read
you
top of the board.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, I
know who done this.
Hello.
Good point.
Hello.
Look who got up early.
On the literacy.
Also,
But
Guess
yeah,
which one is yours?
I saw him here like 5 times.
Really?
He
Oh,
was
yeah.
on teaching.
This
This
one's
is not
Johnny.
introduced.
You're correct. But you should have the lid for this one because
He was the one who stopped.
The banana?
What?
Was he the one who stopped me?
whoever
Oh yeah, and don't ever let him.
You have to switch the lids.
Oh,
But
shit.
what do you
It's
do?
the one that Kylie got.
Because, like, every single game when we were waiting for
I actually just got coffee.
I got you better.
And if he played,
I
But like,
stopped.
that happened like 20 times every single night.
It's
Jeremiah versus
you're
Justin
gonna have
Bieber. Oh,
to
yeah.
snap it
That
down.
was pretty
Oh
rough.
yeah.
You left out that one.
Did you make that one?
Yeah, I sent them a bunch of games.
thank you.
I love that.
Do you wanna turn on sound for me?
Oh, the Christmas song.
I thought you were coming through just now.
Was I?
You gotta
No.
do more of those.
I'm not, right?
So you should do almost
No.
like.
Oh, when I said it was
I'll
hard, I meant
fix it up.
something different. I meant it was really hard to play. But you're right. It is also a very hard game. But that's, I think,
Wait,
tied
so you
together.
make those games?
I think the
Yeah, your,
reason it was hard to
um, your mic is on and I just turned yours on.
Okay, thank you.
Structure words into emojis.
Daniel, look how self-sufficient we've become.
It's amazing. I love you guys.
Make real hard.
You're gonna destroy my dog.
No,
Can you imagine
I
what
would
that would be
like-
like if you asked a dog owner, can I take apart your dog and make a heart out of it?
What?
Just take off all the limbs and make a heart out of it.
I'm not even a dog owner, and I find that very strange.
You could just get it.
He asked me
hard out of
as he
it.
was grabbing for this, can I make you a heart? I was like, wait, you're gonna take apart my dog?
No, I have like a giant bag of like
A bunch of
40 of his.
That's so
And then I have like,
Did I tell you that I used to be a clown?
You did? You are?
Yeah, I was a birthday clown.
I
I
thought you
totally was a birthday clown.
You are a clown.
Me and my best friend growing up,
I know.
Jamie, we wanted to make some extra cash. And
Whoa,
he
how
was a
much
clown from
did you
Halloween,
make?
so we had the whole
Points?
costume. No, Barsotti.
How much did you make?
Barsotti. So, funny story, I feel really bad, we were all eating your garlic bread, we never asked. Because I ordered that extra. And the other one, you ordered that one, and I counted boxes. We got five. So
My skills.
Four items.
what is that sound? Oh, that slapped me in the chin.
FYI, right now it's totally fine. When Jean gets here later
Someone
today,
shoot a gun.
Jay,
please.
want to bring me a pen or a pencil from over there?
Most of the
No.
time, but yeah.
A pen or a pencil from.
Am I bleeding?
No.
No, I think it just hit like one perfectly positioned to the point. So you have like an exceptional response now. You got slapped with the ball.
And has that the
Yeah,
pizza
what
you
color was
should
that?
be?
Was that brown?
Your what?
That's the
Or
pizza
something else
you
you
should
shredded?
Why do you gotta make a round heart?
Oh my god, that actually did split it all the way down.
Kind of makes sense.
Completely in half.
Um,
What kind of smell is that?
latex pile of molecules that are all near each other, and they become one molecule.
I'm dead.
And so that's the reason they can actually hold air so well, because there's actually no gaps in it. So what that means is if you break it, it's like a zip lock bag. You can hold a zip lock bag. And I didn't get it at first. She said it twice and I still didn't get it, and then Jeannie Owens did it, or no, Jeannie Cuneo, did it in an Asian stereotype accent.
It
And
doesn't make any sense.
then I got it.
Wait, what?
I don't understand. What does it have to do?
Okay, so in plain English it says pasta and then it says in. Now, me as a pasta doesn't make any sense. There's no That was the pun, like, Jeannie said it in her accent. Was that a family heirloom thing or something you just got to tell us about? No, from
Maybe I'm definitely not trying to give somebody a family heirloom.
Tiny.
Oh my god, that's the same one.
No.
I'm actually 15 in 8 years. So yeah.
In 8 years?
15 and 8 years.
Do you know about that? I don't think you know that. Oh, I should introduce you.
I can't believe I didn't get that pasta again.
I know, it's a pretty good joke, right?
That was an insane fun to do. I almost died of laughter. You stole my flip phone today.
Oh, nice.
Hey, give me my phone. That's the only way to contact my brother.
It'll be a bit more. Just play big. I'll get it now. Well, so like in certain states, you can and then it's really in other states, like you go on so there's a at some point, yeah, there's a line. You have to look up the price. Yeah, limitation. And that's so weird that you could be doing the same action, and yet because you've gone 1 inch over the mystical law line, now it's a crime. Now
Yes, now you can be
you've stolen the car. I can arrest you.
I don't know why your friend would do that.
The friend prank is actually pretty fun. If you get a bunch of people together, you can move a car without like turning it on, without unlocking it. And
Then
you
it
just all
would be
grab a
theft.
side of the car, and you get enough people. You just
Then it
pick
wouldn't
the
be
car.
theft.
It's still theft.
That would be just being like, oh, this is in my way.
That's mine.
Well, so I think the reason for this is because you could prank way too often, way too easily if you don't have laws like that. Because you could just actually steal the car, and then if you get caught, you say it was a prank.
If I become
And if you don't get caught, hey, look, you got away with stealing the
if I
car.
become president, then lots of things will change.
Yep. Yes,
Well,
and we would all
interestingly,
probably
I
die
don't think
like
that one
Trump.
would. 'Cause
Pretty much
you're not allowed to
everything
change
else.
state laws as president.
Huh?
You're not allowed to change state laws as president.
What? Then why did all the presidents do that? I'm gonna change the law to change the law.
Do you
That's
know
not
what the
allowed.
different parts of government do?
You
I don't
actually
even-
have to get permission from a bunch of other people before you can change the law.
Oh, I don't
Like
care. I'm
there's
just gonna change
huge
it.
amounts of voting that go on.
I'm just gonna change the law. And then
And then get
I'm
arrested.
gonna like erase the law
all of the different
in the law book.
Trying out? Is it?
Well, you know if you played the detective in Broadchurch,
Okay.
then there was a Netflix series called Criminal where he was the suspect. It was like it was entirely focused around an interrogation each episode. And so he was the one being interrogated in one of those episodes. And then now he's playing a role in a new British show called Deadwater Fell where he's one of the victims.
Oh, I get it now. Okay. So
That's
so now
So
he's
he's-
ticked off every role.
Yeah.
I thought you meant he was trying out for a new show. Like
He's
literally
not
doing
playing every
auditions
role.
and he tried out for any audition for every role.
Sounds hard.
This tastes different than normal.
It is though.
Is this something that tastes different? Well, no, but that was your lid.
No.
Oh,
I switched them so that there would be
What?
I
Wait,
switched
wait,
them
wait,
to
wait. You
confuse
switched them twice?
I switched them to
Oh, it's like a
confuse you.
piano game?
Wait, wait, wait.
Before I came in, I switched them because your
And
lid
Never
is
get involved
your
in
lid is
war in
usually-
Asia. That's
your
But
lid
you
is-
all I know.
switched them when
That's
you
all
came
I know.
in.
No, but I switched them back in the car because your lid is usually the one with markings. So I
Okay,
was trying to
does mine
confuse
have
you.
almond milk in it?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
It has almond milk in it.
Oh my god.
Almond, same. I say it both ways now.
Oh my goodness.
I say it like differently every other time. No, you're
I've heard it both ways.
No.
The right way and then yours. I've heard it both
No.
ways.
No, okay, so this was my original
Oh my
lid.
gosh.
Yes.
Okay, now I get it.
That looks
Now I get it. I love almond milk. They said almond milk, but I actually think I prefer regular milk.
Hmm.
At least, as opposed to this almond milk.
I got it that way in case you didn't know it.
Oh, you can drink it?
Yeah, this one does.
Well, I do like it.
Oh my gosh.
I only needed
I
20.
think I like it.
That looks so
more.
hard. It's like in piano tile.
I'm so confused.
Piano
Piano
what?
tiles too.
Yeah.
What is that one for? I got it. now.
So you actually play piano
Yeah.
to the
It
music
looks
like
so fun.
Guitar Hero kind of thing?
Yeah, but on a piano.
Yeah, and the slot, it's like exactly like.
I played that game before.
And you can choose like what song you want, but you have to work up to get songs.
Oh, really?
Well, not the new one.
Wait, do you get different songs?
That's what I.
The first
Daniel.
movie, right? The second one was the front, right?
Yes, yes, the first one. not the
Cool.
second.
Cool.
There's so many like.
They're actually still somehow casting for the second one.
What?
Like they just cast 3 people. Even though
I thought the second
I was pretty sure the second one was finished.
I thought it was already out.
No, it's not. It was going to be out at Christmas, but then they delayed it so that it can premiere on NBC streaming service.
Dude, the July
Which means I'm
movie
gonna have
is
to do
really
it
good.
every
And
Friday.
The new one? I've seen both of those.
I saw the first one. I haven't seen the second one yet.
which first one?
Oh yeah, good point. Both
The
first
very,
ones.
very
I've
first
seen both
one
first ones.
or the newer one?
Yeah, no, I was actually a kid when the first one came out. I watched it when it came out.
My dad doesn't want to watch it, so we have to like wait till he's not in the house.
Why doesn't he want to watch it?
He said that if we play Sanctum Musical
What the
while he's in the
heck?
house, he will play the piano the whole time we are watching it. He can't play the piano.
That's a good threat.
But why doesn't he want to watch it? It's natural.
No, so hard.
Wait, Psych the musical.
Nothing.
I hate that one.
Oh,
Where did that come from?
that's random.
Cause I
You have a
keep,
pop socket?
no, I have this. It's better than a pop socket.
I don't think so.
Kickstand.
That's not.
He changed my phone into Spanish a couple days ago.
Oh, nice.
And then I changed it back, so everything that I've been
That's what
looking
I'm
up has
supposed to
been turned into Spanish.
My whole Amazon account got turned into Spanish for some reason. Which goes across devices. Like it doesn't matter which device you pull it up on, it's still in Spanish. It took me forever to find that. It doesn't have any other languages either. The American Amazon.com only
Can they all
has
sing?
English, Spanish. That's it. Two
They're not
languages.
weird?
So did you
instead of
Well,
the
I think
icon for
a
a
lot
cart,
of
it literally
times
just says the word trolley.
people
Oh.
Where the icon was, and they're like,
more likely
why
to,
are you translating an icon?
you know,
Stop
cast
that,
on
Google,
you as
stop that.
That confuses.
Alright,
It's like
this.
television actors
This is what I wanna learn to do.
in like
Me too.
us
No, I don't.
number of cases.
Oh,
Oh, it's just
the, I don't even know how to say that. What's it called?
Trying to do Broadway.
yeah.
Like Kristen Bell has a musical theater.
Just
How do you say this song? What's it called? This is like my favorite song. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, if you don't know what it's called, like
I mean, a lot of times actors
I have no idea how to. I know what it's called. I just don't know how to pronounce it.
I'm just gonna be mean and put on my
I bet my mom could do that.
This is a really good one. Choir of the Bells mashed up with the Imperial March. That was really fun.
Why is it only using half the keyboard?
It's just because it's a deeper song.
Oh wait, never mind. This isn't the song that I thought of.
Oh.
What?
Apparently they decided to do the musical while they
Wait,
were
what is
filming
this
the
from?
pilot.
What?
They decided to do Psych the musical while they were filming the pilot.
What's this from?
Of Psych.
Oh, that's what I thought. Have
Oh,
you seen that?
they planned it for that
Yeah.
long?
I've seen all that.
Franks heard them singing in between takes
Yeah,
and
me
was like,
too. There's some.
ooh,
Yeah, actually,
pretty good. We gotta do a musical.
I know.
That's hilarious. So they were planning it from the beginning?
So they weren't casted partially because they had good voices then.
No. He heard them singing in between takes and he was
That's
like,
hilarious.
no,
Yeah,
this is pretty good.
Their
I'm gonna write a
characters
musical.
sing all throughout the show in various
Yeah, he has a nice
weird situations.
Yeah.
Like the acapella episode and
Why does your mailbox have holes in it?
American duos.
It's not a mailbox.
actually on mailbox as it turns out.
How is it?
It's
Now we know they could have actually.
it's a plastic bag storage device.
Oh.
You're meant to shove your shopping bags in it, but it's kind of useless now because you don't get free plastic shopping bags.
Wait, what is that?
I don't
You
remember.
shove
Got all
plastic
the
shopping bags in here,
barbecues and
Yeah.
everything.
and then you pull them out like one at a time from the holes.
Oh.
Why would you do that?
Because you used to get plastic shopping bags for free, and storing them for later use was actually like a thing.
Yeah, my parents
And
still
Our
Julia
parents
Hill
still
actually
do it,
does
yeah.
Broadway shows.
It used to be how I put trash bags in my bathroom trash cans.
Hey, Daniel, can I show you a really cool Cuneo video?
Sure.
I don't have YouTube on my phone, so.
You know?
Here, if
No,
anyone can
no
guess
words,
this
I
song, if anyone can guess this song, then get my song.
Super duper duper song.
That's
Heavy Dirty
cheating.
Soul.
Can I show you? Can I show you?
Heavy Dirty Soul. It's called Heavy Dirty Soul.
What? Are you kidding? No way.
There's an station in my mind's imagination where I hope the joke of books and pulls them out like a basement. This is not rap, this is not hip hop, this is another attempt to make the book stop working right now. Trying to say
But
something.
who's it by?
Cuneo Pilots.
Name.
No, Gavin, your phone.
It's
Wasn't much to
not.
say, Evan. This doesn't. We like.
Give up your phone.
Right now,
It
I'm
actually
really crazy
was.
man queen.
But it is
Gangsters
by
don't cry,
someone.
therefore I'm Mr. Misty Eye. Therefore I'm. Can you save my heavy dirty soul?
So it's like one guy
You were-
what is
you
this
were
on a
close.
grand piano.
What?
What?
What is this? This is impossible.
Isn't it weird how his hands just shoot off to the side and play like
It's not
something
even possible.
Oh.
He is physically doing it, so it is possible.
He is. Those aren't like animated.
Oh well, these are animations made after the fact. He's actually playing without this. He's just playing like a normal human.
What? There's
It
no
just
way.
it makes it look like it's so that you kind of see it coming
It's
down.
insanely. That's sick.
This is probably on like a TV.
This is just software that does this from his.
So those
his
are
MIDI
real hands
channel.
and the real people.
Yeah, real hands on a real keyboard, and then you use a cable called a MIDI cable, and it's on the back of a lot of electric keyboards. It's like 5 pins, I think, and then it goes into a USB adapter, tells the computer exactly what note you're pressing for how long and how hard. So you can feed that information into graphic software that then can paint the notes for you. You can also just take sheet music and turn that into the notes. But you have to make sure you're playing it very, very good to make it match up.
That's insane. I bet I can do it
Because this
easily.
is So like it was never arranged, I don't think, by John Williams for piano. Like for one person to play. Because typically it's just played by, 30 people.
This is played by 30 people.
It's from Star Wars. This is the scene where Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan fight Darth Maul.
Oh.
It's called Duel of the Fates. Which turns out was supposed to be the original title for episode 9. How cool would that have been if the title was Duel of Fates?
Wait, what?
It was gonna be the title back when Trevorrow was gonna direct it. I'm not sure I would have liked what he was gonna do though. His script sounds really hokey. I got a chance to read parts of it. Kylo Ren was supposed to fly off to some gross dark planet and meet the evil Sith that trained Palpatine. And they finally released like the Star Wars art book for this movie, and in it is that Sith. And it's like a flat-footed spider. It's like sitting on this weird round rock, and like you could tell in the art, that's not a rock. That's the head of a giant. And like this was Trevorrow's original like script. So there's like evil Sith Lord that was even more powerful than Palpatine. He just hunkered down on the planet, kind of like Yoda did. Like,
Wait, Kylo Ren went there?
Well, in
yeah,
the
that was
original,
the original script.
well,
But
like in
well, they
the
didn't use it.
in the
The Star
early
Wars just
movies,
came out.
in
Oh,
the
yeah, it was
third
super
movie,
It cuts
Ah.
mine in half.
bad no matter what.
Yeah, you might as well have just done that.
the one where Anakin turns evil.
Okay, yeah.
Palpatine says that his master has already died. So why would it show in the later episode that he's still alive?
Oh yeah, no, it completely rewrote every little like detail we had. Because before Disney took over and like wiped out all the old books, we actually had a book about Palpatine's master.
Yeah.
He was named, he had a character, he had a story arc, and then Disney wiped him away. So you can make him whatever you want, but you're right, it says that part in the movie. So like it didn't make any sense, but they didn't use it, so I guess that part makes sense.
Wait, what?
The guy who directed Jurassic World, his name is Colin Trevorrow, and he was set to direct episode 9, and he got taken off the project. He didn't get to direct the last Star Wars.
Oh.
So they had the guy who did number 7 come back and do 9. And in the original guy's original version of 9, Palpatine was trained by a spider. So
What?
How can you even hold lightsaber?
I don't think he does. I think it was the point.
So
He was
the
beyond
Sith are
lightsabers.
descended from spiders.
He sits on like a giant's head, and my guess is if he wants to fight, he just like wakes up the giant and controls him with force.
Spiders are just the ancestors of the Sith, obviously.
Well, that would have been a more interesting,
Like, I agree on that part. That one little nugget. I loved part of what they were trying to do with 7, 8, 9. That 1, 2, and 3 got wrong. So Palpatine didn't have a lightsaber in 4, 5, and 6, right? He never has one. You never see him with one. He takes Luke's and just kind of sits there like a foreign object. He even says a line about lightsabers and how antiquated and silly they are. Like he looks at Luke's lightsaber and he goes, eh. And so like the thought is Darth Vader only has one because he used to be a Jedi. If you look at 4, 5, and 6, there's no reference to Sith with lightsabers at all ever. Darth Vader's the exception, and he was a Jedi previously. So like, that's all we really know. It's not until the books come out and they start like, exploring everything. Everyone needs a lightsaber. But then Palpatine fights a lightsaber in episode 3.
Yeah.
But like, that doesn't make any sense really, because like the whole point of 6 was, you have a lightsaber. Ha! I can basically just shoot you with lightning from across the room. You have nothing. And then you go back and like people can block lightning with lightsabers. And he fights with a lightsaber. And so it takes Palpatine from like this mystical, like unknown. I don't know what you can do. You can do anything. Nothing about you is explained. And it makes him to like he's like Jedi but bad. And then suddenly he's this completely known quantity. Like he's completely thrown into a box as a character. So I kind of like the idea of 7, 8, 9, where like the 7 starts and Kylo Ren freezes a laser bolt in midair. That to me was like, okay, sweet, we're getting back to the basics of you never know what might happen. This isn't a hard magic system. This is fantasy. It's not sci-fi. And then that it never shows up again. Things never get explored. Like nothing is important. Like you know facts. Well, let me just read your mind. You know, like there we go. Boom. I know what you know. Like, well, what?
That's a thing now?
So the problem with that is when you take a soft magic system and you start going willy-nilly with it and introducing a new thing every 5 seconds, is that now no problems are ever insurmountable. You always need to have, but that's okay. And you have emotional and you have character reasons for not doing the thing every time. Like if I can teleport, that breaks most stories. Because suddenly almost every problem is solvable by using teleportation. So you need a emotional, personal reason why I can't teleport every time I want to. But not a hard cost, because then it's a hard magic system. So like in a Harry Potter world, there's like, I need the right ingredients to make that potion. That's still sci-fi. That's not really fantasy. Like fantasy should be like Baby Yoda. I can stop any bad guy in this entire show, but I'm gonna be really tuckered out if I do. So like that's not hard magic. That's like, oh, I don't think he can do it again. He did just do it. Like, does that make sense? Like, so you get like this personal reason. A personal reason why. Just think like Yoda has all those super duper force powers, but it's a baby.
I'm not ready to get into Disney just yet.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, Mandalorian was really good though because it had its own vision from the start. It was its own separate thing, and that was to be a western set in Star Wars land. And like, they did it. They made a western, and
Cowboy.
it's a real like a spaghetti western homage inside of Star Wars.
But you know that they've already done that in the episodes. Like the cartoon ones.
Oh yeah. What's his name?
That wasn't the original Heavy Dirty Soul. That was the version that they did with Utah.
What are we talking about?
Yeah, the one where.
He's going back to a previous conversation.
No,
It's
but like
the guy with blue skin.
No. Oh yeah.
He's like a western everywhere he goes.
Yeah, but like there is an actual Jedi of the Order, and he actually always wears a cowboy hat, and he has cowboy boots, and he rides like some kind of like alien. He rides an alien horse, like some kind of like alien horse, and he's a Jedi.
I must have forgotten. I gotta go back to Clone Wars. There were so many good episodes in there.
Like what cartoon?
Yeah.
Did you know they're gonna put out another season again?
Seriously? Of
Yeah.
what? Of
So
what?
they did like the Netflix season,
Yeah.
season 6.
Of what?
But now they're working on a season 7.
Of what?
It's supposed to come out, I think, in February.
Of what?
A Clone Wars, the old Star Wars
I
cartoon.
haven't seen any.
It's like the cliffhanger that they left it
Disney
with.
Plus will get me when they offer a plan that includes Hulu without ads.
They already have it.
Yeah.
But they have a Hulu Planet. Does
They
it
have a
still have
Hulu
ads?
plan with ads.
Yeah, we have Hulu, but like
Why would you pay for TV and then watch ads?
because the ads are only like
Get started.
3
Yeah,
seconds.
sure.
I paid for Hulu without
No,
ads
yeah,
because that's my
sure.
favorite streaming service. And
No, we gotta get started.
I have no ads.
Please turn to contents, page 0.
That's what it said. Alright guys, we're gonna go get started.
Well,
After? You're here till second service, right?
I'm here till
At
like
the end of second service.
3.
Oh yeah, yes, Tim.
See ya.
Cause guess what, Daniel?
I'm getting into the vlog.
Yes, Jamie.
That's what I said.
Do you
Adios.
think I can throw my phone into the blue bucket from here?
Don't try it.
Why? My phone's invincible.
It is?
Yeah.
No,
I've
I've never
yeah, 'cause
heard
he's
of
a
it.
teenager.
Literally has
Didn't you
like,
know?
like 3 cases on it.
3 cases. Is the last one a mitten?
Do it.
Ready?
Nope, I'm not ready. I'm not ready.
Here, I'll catch it.
Just being honest.
I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Ooh. I missed his hand.
Okay, you might not have broken your phone, but you are getting close to breaking some equipment.
Well, that's easy.
Someone poisoned the water.
Oh.
This is my chair.
Whoa.
Whoa.
I've never seen that done like do that before.
It's magic.
Matthew sits there.
6 of us? Yeah.
You sit at that.
Not even 6 of us.
We need to be spread out.
4.
2 of
well, I
us.
guess if you're counting adults.
3 of us.
Hey, you stay down.
Wow, are you saying that we don't
I need
count?
to have my space.
Are we not real people? Is that fool's gold?
Maybe.
It's banana bread.
Oh.
Guys, he figured it out.
What?
He figured out that adults are all just part of the simulation.
Shut it down! Shut it down!
I think we are
Quarantine!
all in a video game type thing.
We are.
We're like in that
Stay down.
Wait, why didn't you
we're like in that one Avatar movie.
Jeremiah, you're gonna get deleted.
There's only
if you
one
keep
Avatar
doing
movie.
this.
Wait, do you like that movie?
Okay.
I did too.
What
I think
songs
we're
we
like
doing?
in that world.
Oh, I didn't
Did
even
you
click
know
on it, I'm
this
sorry.
thing come-
I
they're gonna-
completely
there's gonna
spaced
be
on
an
that.
Avatar 2.
Here.
And like, yeah, I heard. Unless they did cancel it.
Have you seen
Somehow, I
The
don't know.
Last Airbender?
But what?
The cartoon show?
No. Dude, no. You have to stay on that side. I want my space.
He's gonna
Too
die.
bad. Well, you scoot over onesie.
No, I need my space.
You scoot
Matt,
over onesie.
Matt, are you dying?
Move.
Yes, I am. This kid is. I'm dead.
I need my space. Thank you.
You don't look dead.
Ow, that hurt.
Well, I am.
I'm not dead yet.
I'm not quite dead. I still got a few more lives. I'm a
I
cat.
feel happy.
Bring
Your
out
friend
your
is
bread.
only mostly dead.
My doctor says that I'm depressed because I don't eat enough.
Bring out your dead.
That's funny. Just
Bring
sit,
out
but
your
just
dead.
go over here.
No,
He stole my spot.
too bad.
You
I
have, like,
live
give me money.
fighting your
Give me money.
dinner dinner.
I have no money.
Okay, then give
I
me
have to
pen.
pay for the bathroom.
Give me your phone. And then I'll accept this.
I
When
shall
they're all
fight
dead,
the
there's only one
dinner
thing you can
dinner
do.
dinner.
Go through
Your
the pockets for
mother
loose change.
learning your father's smell of elderberries.
Okay,
What the
Harry
heck?
Potter. No, I don't know.
It's a
Alright, guys, she said quiet, please.
Thank you, Lord, for this morning. Just that we get to gather here and worship you and read about you. And I pray that you would just bless this time. And we thank you that we get to be here together. From the highest of heights to the depths of the sea, creation's revealing your majesty. From the colors of fall to the fragrance of spring, every creature unique in the song that it sings, all exclaiming, indescribable, uncontainable. You place the stars in the sky and you know them by name. You are amazing, God. All powerful, untamable, awestruck we fall to our knees as we humbly proclaim. You are amazing, God, who stole every lightning bolt where it should go, or seen heavenly storehouses laden with snow, who imagined the sun and gives source to its light, yet conceals it to bring us the coolness of night. None can fathom, indescribable, uncontainable. You place the stars in the sky and you know them by name. You are amazing, God. All powerful, untamable, awestruck we fall to our knees as we humbly proclaim. incomparable, uncontainable. You place the stars in the sky and you know them by name. You are amazing, God. Incomparable, unchangeable. You see the depths of my heart and you love me the same. You are amazing, God. You are amazing, God. Hungry, I come to you, for I know you satisfy. I am empty, but I know your love does not run dry. So I wait for you. So I wait for you. I'm falling on my knees, offering all of me. Jesus, you're all this heart is living for. Broken, I run to you, for your arms are open wide. I am weary, but I know your touch restores my life. So I wait for you. Oh, I wait for you. I'm falling on my knees, offering all of me. Jesus, you're all this heart is living for. I'm falling on my knees, offering all of me. Jesus, you're all this heart is living for. Hungry, I come to you, for I know you satisfy. Water you turned into wine. Open the eyes of the blind. There's no one like you. None like you. Into the darkness to shine. Out of the ashes we rise. There's no one like you. None like you. Our God is greater, our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. Into the darkness you shine. Out of the ashes we rise. There's no one like you. None like you. Our God is greater. Our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. Oh. And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand against? And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand against? And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand against? What could stand against? Our God is greater, our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. Thank you, Lord, once again for this time. I pray that you would just help us to focus on you and have a great rest of our day. I pray this in your name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Elise. Alright, guys, open up your Bibles to Genesis 22. If you didn't bring a Bible, get one.
Yes, sir.
Go get, go get, go.
That's what I'm talking about when I say he's
No,
yours.
no, it's back there. Back there. You have to walk all the way to get a Bible.
Yep, you're responsible.
You
Wait.
can do it. I believe in you.
I have a request.
Of junior hires
I got
or
your Bible.
Junior hires and you guys.
What?
Do you know what a burpee is?
Oh, I do.
Do it now.
I
Do it.
I love
do it,
burpees.
Do it.
Okay.
Do
Can
it.
I
you,
do
you
them?
three.
Huh?
Burpee contest. Who can
What?
do the most burpees? I'm gonna use the restroom.
No.
You get to count. You guys gotta
What
do them in
happens if
time.
we win?
If you do them at different speeds,
Can we compete with
he
that?
won't be able to count.
Wait,
Right?
someone do a burpee. I
Right.
forgot what
Okay.
it is. Just do a
So,
burpee now.
You want to do one example burpee?
I forgot what.
What
Oh, I'm
happens
not
if we
doing
win
that.
the
What the
most
heck?
burpees?
That's a burpee. Boom. Done. So the
Oh,
John
there's
Listen
people
finale.
downstairs.
Wait, that
Daniel.
might wake
There's
up the
people
babies.
downstairs.
The children.
Yeah, the babies are
It
awake
won't
now.
take very long.
Well, if I'm so
So I
tall
can
that if
stomp
I
on the
jump, I
floor?
might not
I
climb
can
down.
stomp on the
You
floor.
can
Let's.
jump with your hands up like this.
Does that mean
Well, that
they
just
stomp on
takes
the
more
floor?
time.
Tell them all the time that they can't jump.
Do it on the stage then.
Oh, I can. Yes.
Please don't jump right here.
Oh,
Oh,
Can
God,
we
make
flop
sure we go
instead?
right
Okay,
here.
1, 2, 3,
let's do
go.
it. Let's flop. Ready?
I don't
do the
actually know
flop.
how to do it.
Do the flop.
Oh, that looks like it's painful.
I don't think I can do them in
I'm
boots
not
'cause
doing
I can't get into push-up position in boots.
I'm not doing that. 3.
Ah, I can't do this
I'm
again.
gonna ruin my boots if I do that.
That's what I started right when I was born. I just started doing burpees. I just got down.
You're doing the lunge forward wrong. You're just stepping forward. It's like,
Yeah, you gotta actually. But that just
No,
makes
he's
it
doing
louder.
it. He's doing it
What are you
right.
doing? Your
no, he's
yeah,
he's
that's the
stepping
point.
forward.
Make it louder. Make
But
it
that
louder.
makes
He's
it less
he's
loud.
going
Yeah.
from
It's supposed to be like that.
Is
It's
that
supposed
not
to
what you
clap.
was doing?
No,
Well,
he
I
was
don't
doing-
want to stop.
He was doing.
I do.
Oh.
Yeah, but
I
he's
wanna
not
stomp.
stomping, so
Yeah,
he doesn't
but I
wake
don't
up
wanna
the small
stomp.
You mean
children
he's
and
stepping
kill
Because
them.
if I go like
Small children are already
this,
awake.
that makes a lot of noise.
I want the
Rather
small
than
children
just-
to cry.
I
Oh,
want to
I'm
make
too-
babies cry.
Okay.
So I win.
You guys can jump
Because
pretty
they didn't even do any.
You can jump pretty quietly if you land on your toes. and
Fine,
roll
let's do
your
it.
back.
Ah!
So if you jump like
I'm
this.
just gonna.
If you're all doing that
He's
when
doing the
Daniel
flop.
gets back, I will be very
Yes, pleased. Please do.
Come on,
Get
guys.
to the flap,
Come on,
please,
guys.
Come on,
That
Matt,
thing-
I'm
No,
not
you guys
fly.
join him.
I
You
can't.
guys
I
join him.
never
I don't
can
know
do
how
it.
to
You.
do that.
I'm not
Just
gonna
do
do that.
Come on, Matt. No, I can't do the flop. You do it.
Wait, wait till you can hear me. Yeah.
Wait till he gets here.
It's so
Until he's
dumb.
walking down the hallway.
Please, Matt. No, I
Please,
can't.
Matt, please, I'll pay you
No.
$20.
I don't care about money.
Okay, you pay me
I'll
20
give
bucks.
Not
you
you.
$20.
Okay, then I'm quitting.
What?
Oh, come on.
No, I
Come
just
on,
want the 20 bucks.
Last time we did this, Daniel
Please,
thought we
Matt.
were starting a cult, so.
No.
Please, Matt.
I can't.
We're begging you.
I can't. Come back.
Please, Matt.
Fine, Matt, you just be our spy. You go out there, look through the little tiny crack and
Okay,
see if
fine.
he's coming.
Yeah.
Tell us when he's coming.
Well, no, don't do that because then he'll know that. Just start when he
We'll be very quiet and listen for his footsteps.
he's gonna.
Matt, I think you won.
No, actually, I won the burpee contest.
Yeah, he definitely did.
Because I did like 20 and they did none.
Oh, none.
You
That's
did like
hard to beat.
maybe.
Okay, I did
11.
15.
Maybe 11.
Maybe.
Oh my gosh.
I did maybe one.
I did.
No.
I did read
No,
Jeremiah's
you
account.
didn't do
So
that.
Right
I'm
here.
gonna
You
have to
don't
go
even
Jeremiah's
know what
number.
one is.
What?
It's when you like suck in air in your stomach, and then it comes out violently all of a sudden.
No, but he was all like, he was all like, I know what they are. And Jeremiah was all like, okay, Weston, do one to show everyone what it is.
I said.
I did one, and then he was all like, I don't know what burpees are.
Ew.
And then I did one.
No,
Amazing.
you didn't.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
I
Do
did.
one
Okay.
right now.
Open your Bible. We're not doing burpees
didn't
anymore.
grab
You've
my
missed your
Bible.
opportunity. You brought a Bible.
Oh yeah, I did.
Okay, Genesis 22.
Genesis 22.
I set it down to do
It
that.
should be
Today
pretty
we're
darn
gonna be
close
in
to
the
the
book
front.
of Introduction
glad
to the
you're
New
back?
Living Translation.
Nope.
Page A9.
Matt, you're on the wrong one.
Oh.
I know.
Are you glad that you're back with us?
I am.
Wait,
I
tell
missed
us a
you
weird
guys.
story.
Why did you
hurry.
even leave?
I had a baby.
Oh.
Tell us a
And
weird story.
I
Wait,
stayed-
so you're a girl?
No, that's not how it works.
Tell us a story.
Tell you a story?
Oh, you forgot to show us pictures on Wednesday.
I
Tell us a
did.
story. Because you
I
said
still
you
have
had
the
lots of
pictures.
weird stories or something like that. Tell
Yeah, I
say
do,
something.
but not about Genesis 22.
She
I
was
have,
here
so?
on
I have
Wednesday.
very straightforward stories about
No, she
Genesis
wasn't.
22.
What? Emma?
Okay, do
She
that.
came here at the very end of service.
Yeah.
Like after most people left.
Really?
Yeah. But
Oh, I saw her.
it
I
wasn't
saw
like
her.
on purpose. Emily
I
was at
saw
a birthday
her.
party until like right after.
I
church
saw
ended.
her.
Who has a
Cool.
birthday
And I
party
also
at
saw her on
8
the
a.m.
screen.
at 8
She
Adults,
looks like a baby.
adults do.
She looks like a
Because they have to
baby.
wait till their friends get off work.
Why did she look like a
It's little
baby?
sliver.
Alright guys, we are going to go ahead and read Genesis chapter 22. Elise, you get to start us off in
Uh-huh.
verse 1. We're just going to go around the circle.
Wait, verse 1 of
And then it
You
goes
just
straight
want me
to
to
him.
Genesis
do
1
one verse at a
One
time?
verse, one verse,
In
one
the
verse, one verse, one
beginning.
verse.
Wait, I gotta find the page. I don't know where it is.
It's
on
page
there.
eight.
Did you not try or did you not know how?
Page
Genesis
I know
18.
how.
Okay, cool. So Genesis.
My Bible is
Genesis is the first book of the Bible. So right past the opening bits where it tells you about what the heck the Bible is.
Wait,
Then
what
you get to the book of
translation is your
Genesis.
Bible?
Okay. Then the second number, the one that's, or sorry, the number right after Genesis is the chapter that is included on that page, and it's in bold wherever it starts. So we're in 22, so you can keep flipping till you see a page with 22,
22.
22. And we're starting at the beginning of the chapter. Weirdly, verse 1 never has a number. All the other verses do.
Wait,
So
really?
when you get down to like
It's
verse 3, it says
chapter
3.
22
Whoa, I didn't know that.
is beginning,
That's
so
exactly it. You nailed it. Okay, so we're going to start there in verse 1.
Can I start?
Me.
Elisa read verse 1,
I actually don't
Jeremiah
wanna
2,
read it.
Matt 3, so on and so on. and so on.
never
Okay,
use
Jeremiah's
this.
number 2.
How long are we reading to?
Sometime later, God tested Abraham's faith. Abraham, God called. Yes, he replied, here I am.
Take your son, your only son, yes, Isaac, whom you love so much, and go to the land of Moriah. Go and sacrifice him as a burnt offering on one of the mountains, which I will show you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
It says your only son. Yes,
Mhm.
your only son, but he has another.
He does, and he doesn't. It's tricky.
Yeah, I know.
Wait, adopted son?
No.
He has a son by another
The
woman.
unadopted?
He had a son with a woman who wasn't his first wife. And that son he had first. He had that son before he had Isaac. But that son is gone.
Why?
His mom and he left.
Wow.
Abraham's original wife, Sarah, was getting really annoyed with that son, Ishmael. Or
Ishmael.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somehow that doesn't sit right in my head.
It's the right name.
It's been too long. So after they fought for a bit, Sarah basically kicked out the other second wife. And so wife number 2, Hagar, took Ishmael and they left. So when he says your only son, it's not a reference to how many sons he had. It's a reference to how many sons he has.
Right in that point of time.
Right there, right then. Yeah. He has no clue, as far as we know, where Ishmael is.
He could be dead.
Exactly. He wouldn't even know at this point. So at this juncture in time, yes, only son. So I know it's a little strange. Yeah, Jeremiah.
In fact, he probably believes that he is dead. 'Cause
They walked
went
out
and
into the
wandered
wilderness,
into
just the 2 people
wilderness.
alone. It's pretty bad odds that they stay alive. But God was watching over them, and so they do stay alive. But he doesn't know that. So, anyways, Matt hasn't read. So verse 3 to Matt.
No, it was him that hasn't read.
No, it's Matt.
Wait, what?
Very, very simple to tell who when we're on verse 3.
Wait, we're in let me see,
22.
Revelation, right?
Hey Matt, could you just read 22:3?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, thanks.
The next morning, Abraham got up early. He saddled his donkey and took 2 of his servants with him, along with his son Isaac. Then he chopped wood for a fire, for a burnt offering, and set out for the place God had told him about. Wait, do I read 4?
Nope.
No, I will. When I find it.
We're in Revelation.
Oh, stop
I'm
it.
just kidding.
On the 3rd day. Wait, what?
On the 3rd day of their journey.
Well, he has a different translation, so it may say that, it may not.
The next
On the
morning.
3rd day.
Oh wait, on the 3rd day of the journey,
Hey Matt, stop.
Where's that one? I hate when they come.
Abraham.
Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance.
Yep, you're done. That's it.
In the distance.
And then 5 over to Weston.
Stay here with the donkey, Abraham told the servant. The boy and I will travel a little farther. We will worship there, and then we will come right back.
Okay, let's pause here for a second. Did anybody notice what got said up in verse 2 when Jeremiah read?
Then God said, "Take your son and your only son, Israel,
hmm?
Isaac?
and kill him, basically."
Yeah.
That doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound like God talking to him.
Isn't that strange?
But it is God.
It should sound strange though.
No.
Even if it's God, it should sound strange.
No, if it's God, I would be like, kill myself, sure.
Weston, I want you to kill a close family member of yours.
Talk about the hill.
Not gonna
come
give
here.
you any reasons, Weston.
What?
Come here, Matthew!
I'm not even.
Jeez.
That should be weird. Honestly, it should be
Yeah,
weird.
like say it like if
Usually,
it was all like
if God brings out a
Weston, kill your parents.
what's the word I'm looking for? If God gives out a
Then you say you want to go on a hike, then you can.
Yeah, let's
usually
go
if God
off
brings
into
out a
a
death
farm
sentence,
with
he has a
the
reason. And the reason is really clear. Usually he says, go kill those people from that place because they did this crime.
Okay.
That's usually how God works. God doesn't typically say, I'd like you to kill your kid. Because
No
reasons.
good reason.
Yeah, he doesn't even give a reason that we can question. He doesn't give a reason and say, you know,
That's illegal.
here's why.
So he wants me to do illegal
He
things?
got poisoned.
That's
He's gonna
child
poison
abuse.
you in 2 days.
See, that'd be a great reason. He's about to turn against you. It's a life or death matter. Like, those are great reasons. He doesn't do that. He just says, go sacrifice him. And he doesn't say murder. He says sacrifice, which is a little bit different.
Oh,
It's-
I remember
it's
the story.
real close.
And he puts him on a hill, then like or something. Then like he has an axe or something, and then it doesn't kill him because for some reason.
What?
The best summary of the story of all time. You're like 90% of the way there, 50% of the time. It's great. It's great. Okay.
I nodded my fingers in there.
Okay, guys. So God says, go sacrifice your one and only son. What is so cool about this moment
Daniel.
is that Abraham doesn't ask for a reason. That is a wild amount of faith. And that tells me something about Abraham. He's
You
changed.
trust God.
That too. But you know what? I've watched him for a while as we've been reading through Genesis, and I've never seen him trust God like this. This is the biggest amount of trust he's ever put into God. Previously, God says, like, you know, I'm going to go look at Sodom and Gomorrah, see if it's worthy of punishment, see how bad it is. And he's like, God, you wouldn't do something unjust, would you? You wouldn't. Oh my gosh, God, what? And he's like in a panic. That's not trusting God. But here, God flat out tells him who he wants dead and who's going to do it. And he's okay with it. Yes, Weston.
Just remember to stay off the stage and stay clear of it. Because when you were talking, getting a drink of water is coming through here really loud.
Oh, is the microphone still hot?
Yes.
Yeah, it was turned up pretty.
Yeah, it's nice and loud.
I've just brought my eardrums.
I'm sorry.
And so does that mean the
I just
camera
heard
you
shattering
say-
glass.
Yes, that's the voice of an angel.
No.
That's a voice of it.
No,
Go
I
ahead.
think that's
Go ahead,
me
Matt. Finish the
breaking
sentence.
Huh?
All right. So the other thing to note here is that not only does he say yes without really asking questions or arguing, but notice what he says to the servants. And this really puts you in the same frame of mind as Abraham when you start to realize what he said here. Check that. The last thing that Weston read. And then we will come right back.
Back.
And we.
Yeah, because he trusts God that he won't either have, at the last second, be like, Abraham, don't kill him, or he'll bring him back to life.
Interesting, though, isn't it, that his trust in God is such that he's willing to do something crazy in the knowledge, the certain knowledge that God won't let crazy things happen.
That's cool.
That's really cool. That's the kind of trust you need to go off into a crazy place and be a missionary where it could cost you your life. That's the kind of trust you need to go charging out into a new location with your family. That's the kind of trust you need to quit your job and do something new. That's the kind of trust you need to, like, talk to someone who you couldn't possibly talk to share the gospel in a moment where it seems so awkward and strange. That's the kind of trust. Abraham says, okay. He doesn't ask a question.
Sure did.
And then when he gets there and it's the moment of truth, like, I have to go up on this hill, I have to go through with what God's asked me to do, he has full trust that God's going to work it out perfectly. Now, why would he trust that God won't let Isaac die, even though God literally just said, go kill him? Why is he trusting that Isaac won't die?
Because he knows it's God and Isaac hasn't done anything bad.
Okay, maybe Isaac's innocent. Now, at this point in the timeline, Isaac could be anywhere from like 7 to 37.
Oh.
Like, it's a big fat
Like
blank on the timeline. I know, it's stupid. Anywhere from like 7 to 37. We have basically no clue. Ishmael leaves somewhere around the time when he's like 7 or 8. Possibly younger, but that, like, around 7 or 8 is our best guess. And then the next thing on the timeline that has a date is when Isaac's mom dies, and that's a little after he's 37.
Sarah?
So, Sarah. So somewhere between
Died?
Ishmael leaving around him being 7 and somewhere before Sarah dies when he's 37, somewhere in that window is when this story happens. And there's no real hints in here as to anywhere between 7 and 37. It says he carries wood. That's like the only thing we get out of Isaac. He's carrying wood. So as long as he's old enough to carry some wood,
So he's probably like 18.
then he's
20.
old enough for the story to take place.
So he's probably
But it
18.
doesn't say how much wood.
It could be one.
It could be
little tiny
one stick. That's not likely. It's likely
Probably.
it's an entire bundle of firewood.
Yeah.
So it's more likely he's not 7. It's much more likely that he is in those teen or adult years. But that really says something
He's
too.
probably as old as me.
That says that
How old are you?
So 2.
Abraham has
Hey.
trust.
Greater English.
7.
Guys. Abraham has trust in his son because this is an old dude. He's post 100. Abraham. He's going to go up on a hill with his son
I knew it.
and
Have an axe.
and kill his son, but that son's old enough to defend himself.
And Abraham's an old man.
Abraham's an old
He has an
guy.
axe, right?
It would not be hard to overtake a guy who's like 120,
I
110,
could
somewhere in that
overtake him.
range. And like you're in your teen years or 20s. Like that
So
wouldn't
that's
be hard.
me.
Like trip him and he's going to break 4 bones on the way down. Like it's not going to be hard, okay? So Abraham does this thinking my son's not going to put up a fight.
And he did.
Well,
Then his son like grabbed the axe.
No, Matt. Don't jump too far ahead in the story. My point is, he trusts not only God, he trusts his son. He doesn't just trust God, he trusts his son. Interesting. Okay, let's keep reading. So I'll take verse 6, and then we'll keep going around the circle.
Can I take verse 6?
No, I just said I was going
But can I have it, please? I really like the number 6. That's
So-
my comic number.
So Abraham placed the wood for the burnt offering on Isaac's shoulders,
Dang it.
while he himself carried the fire and the knife. As the two of them walked on together, Isaac turned to Abraham and said, oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading Lisa's.
Sorry when the sentence is.
Yeah, it's like a comma.
Isaac turned to Abraham and said, Father. Yes, my son, Abraham replied. We have the fire and the wood, the boy said, but where is the sheep for the burnt offering?
God will provide a sheep for the burnt offering, my son, Abraham answered. And they both walked on together.
Matt, you got 9.
Oh.
Oh wait, 9, 10. When they arrived at the place where God had told him to go, Abraham built an altar and arranged the wood on it. Then he tied his son Isaac and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. And
And then he's got 10.
then he had an
I don't
axe.
see 10 on mine.
It's there somewhere.
He d-
What is on the next page?
It could be up here.
Oh, it's a knife. Should have been an axe.
There's no.
Oh, there we go.
I knew it. I knew it. I told you that God told him to not.
Shush, let him read it. Don't read ahead and spoil it.
Then he reached out his hand and took the knife. He slowly. Wait, what?
You having a different translation is throwing me off. I don't know. To slay.
Slay his son.
There we go.
Then
Okay, and then 11 the
But
lesson.
the angle.
a what? Angle?
Meter.
I knew it. I can't believe I remembered that.
What's that word?
Angle.
At?
At the moment,
At that.
Oh, okay. At that moment, the angel
Angle.
of the Lord called him from. What's that word? Heaven.
Weston, come on.
Abraham, Abraham.
Yes.
Abraham, the Lord. Here I am.
Thank you, Weston.
Oh,
Now what?
A beautiful reading. A beautiful reading.
Look,
Alright, so
I knew it.
we've got in this
But it wasn't
story.
an axe.
We've got in this story kind of half of the story. Because
Oh,
we
yeah,
aren't
yeah.
getting a lot of things out of Abraham's head. And that's strange. That's typically what we get when we follow Abraham's story through this book. We get to see what he's thinking. He says it out loud for us a lot of the time. And in this story, not so much. you get what God's thinking right at the start. It says it way at the top. Sometime later, God tested Abraham's faith. So you know God's motives right from the top. Then you get Isaac saying, hey God, we got like fire, we got wood, I see you have a knife there. Where's the sheep, Dad? So you get a little bit of what's going on in Isaac's head. And this whole time, Abraham, most you get is, we're both coming back. That's the most you get out of him.
That's how cool movie stars play it.
Wait, so
Don't worry.
Isaac let
There's not a ton of thought process going on. There's not a ton of motive.
so
We don't
wait,
really
wait,
understand.
wait. Isaac let the person tie him to the table thing.
He trusted his dad to the extent that he was willing to be tied up, put on an altar, and he watched that knife go up in the air. That's wild. I love my dad. I love him a lot. I
Really?
wouldn't trust him to do that.
Does he have a steady
If
hand?
he didn't explain
We
himself
tied you to a board.
sufficiently, I would not allow him to tie me up, put me on a thing that's about to be lit on fire, and then raise a knife over my head. There's just no stinking way.
I would just.
I hope you guys don't trust me that much. I don't think I deserve
No.
that kind of trust.
If you tied me to a board.
Like, we're gonna play a game today. Let's play a game. Weston, come on up. Let's tie you on this altar. 1 second while I get my live torch. Da, 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 da. All right, guys, ready to play? Da, 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 da. Here, you hold the knife. Don't play that game.
Weston, don't
There's a point where you just say no, Daniel, and you tackle me to the ground. Get the knife out of my hand. Get the torch out of my hand.
We
And
would
slap
not
across
just
Save
let
that
you do
boy.
to you.
I would
Just
make
don't
him
let
laugh.
that happen,
I would
okay?
just
And
sit
then
here
I'll
and laugh.
slap you in
Daniel.
the face.
We trust you so much that we're just gonna let you and we're gonna
I'm just gonna watch.
I would just laugh.
What a funny game Daniel's playing.
Shame.
I would just
Don't
laugh
do
with
that.
Weston.
Just don't. All right, Weston, you can have a
I'm
seat.
still tied up.
Oh, here, let me.
I would
use
just
you.
laugh.
There you go.
Dude,
You're
while
you
loose.
gotta
kill
use the knife.
Weston.
Weston.
I gotta use the knife to loose you. That's how it really is in the movie. Someone raises the knife. You're not sure what's gonna happen. They're just gonna cut the
Cut
ropes.
the rope.
That's always how it goes.
Wait, you're on my side?
Okay, so obviously Isaac trusts Abraham. We've got that
Way
one
too
pretty
much.
pretty well established here. Okay, so to get that window into Abraham's head, you actually have to wait until the New Testament.
Oh, let's
It's not even in any of the Old Testament books. No one really references this again. Not in the level that would make me happy. So you flip all the way over to Hebrews, and the author of Hebrews makes this giant list of all the cool people who've done cool things in the past. It's a great, great list. And in that list is Abraham. And it mentions this moment in time, and it mentions what he was thinking. It's Hebrews 11:8. It was by faith that
I found the
Abraham.
New Testament.
It was by faith that Abraham obeyed when God called him to leave home and go to another land that God would
Oh,
give
wait.
him as his inheritance. He went without knowing where he was going. And even when he reached the land God promised him, he lived there by faith, for he was like a foreigner living in tents. And so did Isaac and Jacob, who inherited land. Abraham was confident, looking forward to the city with eternal foundations, a city designed and built by God. And there's a bit about Sarah. And then, where's the part I'm
Jesus.
looking for?
Where
Aha!
are you
17.
reading?
I started too early. It was by faith that Abraham offered Isaac as a sacrifice when God was testing him. Abraham, who had received God's promises, was ready to sacrifice his only son Isaac, even though God had told him, Isaac is the son through whom your descendants will be counted. Abraham reasoned that if Isaac died, God would be able to bring him back to life again.
Dang it, that's exactly what
And
I was
in a sense, Abraham did receive his son back from the dead.
But he never died.
That's why he says in a sense. He didn't say literally. He said in a sense. So in Abraham's mind, he was ready to go through with the act. He was not going through with it in the hopes that he would get stopped at the last minute. He didn't think God was going to call out, wait, right as he started to bring the knife down. He thought, I will have to kill my son to show my faith to God. But God has already promised Isaac will be the father of kids. He will be the one who continues my family line. And since Isaac has not done that yet, at this point Isaac is unmarried, has no kids. Abraham reasoned, I will kill him because God asked me to kill him, and then God's going to have to keep good on his promise because he's God. And to do that, he would have to bring Isaac back from the dead.
Or not kill him at the first place.
Well, but he just got told to kill him. So he's running with that. He's assuming that's part of the plan. He's assuming if God says kill him, that is part of the plan. And then whatever the next part of the plan is the next part of the plan. AKA bring him back from the dead.
Wait. Okay.
So Isaac's fully willing to go through with it because he thinks, well, God can do anything, even make a promise come true when it seems impossible. Yeah, Weston.
It would be, no, it would make the story a lot better.
If you went
Definitely
through with it and
actually
then God
killed his
brought him
son.
back from the dead,
But yeah, that would be.
it would be amazing.
But wait,
But what
But,
if he
like,
stabs him and accidentally
if the
misses him
knife
and
is
it
coming
dies?
down
Mhm.
and then like that far off his skin, God just is like zap, makes him invincible, and the knife just shatters off.
Shatters
his skin.
off his skin. Ah, and then he's Superman. Flies around,
Wait,
comes
wait,
from Krypton.
what
It'd be
if,
great.
excuse me,
Yes, Matt.
what if, since he's so old he couldn't see right, so he accidentally
He fully intended to stab him, but he just can't. He's too blind.
Like,
His hands
Hey,
a
we
little
know it runs in
shaky.
the family.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Daniel,
His is it Isaac?
Yeah.
stab
Yeah,
him
Isaac
with the
himself.
dolan,
Yeah,
stab him
funny.
with the handle.
it's upside down.
playing dartboard.
His hands a little shaky.
We have to move on, guys.
All right, guys, let's keep going. We're almost done with this portion, and then we're gonna go back through. I want you guys to notice some details real quick. Where'd we stop?
Verse 12, I think.
12, and who's reading?
Me.
Okay.
No, Daniel.
Oh,
Oh,
you,
me, yeah. Weston read 11, that's right. Don't lay a hand on the boy, the angel said. Do not hurt him in any way, for now I know that you truly fear God. You have not withheld from me even your son, your only son.
Then Abraham looked up and saw a ram caught by its horns in a thicket. So he took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering in place of his son.
Abraham called the place Yahweh Yireh, which means the Lord will provide. To this day, people still use that name as a proverb. On the mountain of the Lord it will be provided.
Your turn.
15?
Wait, what?
Matt, if you read along as we're reading, it makes it much easier to know where to read when it's your turn.
Then the angel of the Lord called again to Abraham from heaven.
Your turn.
16.
I gotta find the 16 on a different page.
That's okay.
Wait. So confused.
They're hard to find in yours.
Oh, never mind.
They don't make them look very different from the text.
And said, I swear myself have done this and have not withheld your son, your only son. Your turn. He doesn't know where he is. Your turn.
Yeah.
He's finding it again because he was trying to read yours.
That's
17?
Yeah.
I will certainly bless you. I will multiply your descendants beyond number. Like the stars in the sky and the sand on the seashore, your descendants will conquer the cities of your enemies. And through your
Descendants, all the nations of the earth will be blessed. All because you have obeyed me.
You want me to keep going?
Sure.
That's a famous.
Then they returned to the
Verse.
servants and traveled back to Beersheba,
Mhm.
where Abraham continued to live.
Soon after this, Abraham heard that Milcah, his brother Nahor's wife, had borne Nahor 8 sons.
We got some
I'm
fun ones
sorry,
coming, guys.
I'm so sorry.
I don't know, the first two aren't too
What?
bad. It's a list of names. Here we go, Matt. Go for it. You got verse 21.
the oldest was named Uz. The next oldest was Buzz. Called
Why do they rhyme?
Because reasons. Go ahead.
Chemiel, the ancestor of the Arameans. Kesed.
Oh, now you're reading his.
Oh, yay.
I thought it had to be like 2.
It's like, I'm done. I'm out.
No, he just
No,
wants to skip
you
that
should
verse.
definitely be 22. It's much shorter than 23.
Is
Who,
it?
me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll read
No,
22.
I was saying
No,
you
I'm
should be
reading.
22.
I'm reading 22.
Too late. He's already reading it.
We're
Zed,
Shut up.
Hazo,
Shut up.
They are pretty bad though.
How do you even say their names?
By speaking their language.
Kased, Hazo, Bilbash,
No, 22.
Jidluff, and
22.
Thupel.
22.
Yeah, it's all
Jidluff is my
weird
favorite.
names.
Kills.
Is that her?
I think so.
Hazo.
Hazros.
Bilbash.
Do you like that name, Jidluff?
Oh, that's a super good name.
Jidlaff.
Jidlaff? I
Yeah,
love
that's
that
a real one.
And Beth.
Bethuel.
Bethuel.
Oh,
That's
Daniel,
the only
look.
real name
Daniel,
on
look.
here.
Yeah.
It's 10:22. We're
I know.
reading out of 22.
Can you read 23?
2020.
Well, I have to wait another
Happy
30
New
seconds
Year.
until it's 23.
Can you hurry up there,
He's
Wesley?
gotta wait. He's gotta wait.
Gonna
30
lose your
seconds.
turn.
Oh, I'm fine with that.
Hurry up. Go.
Beth.
The
No, Bethuel.
Bethuel became the father of Rebecca in addition to these 8 sons of Micah. Wow,
Yep,
mine
yep,
was
yep.
much easier.
Nahor had 4 other children from his concubine Ruma. Their names were Teba, Gaham, Tahash, and Maacah. Okay, wait. We're gonna go back through real fast.
Oh,
Go back
he
through
closed
with me.
the Bible, now you can't find the page.
There is
Really?
some
I'm gonna
really
jump right to
cool
it.
stuff here in this story that isn't in the surface of the story. It's
Okay.
deep down in the details.
Watch this, ready? I can
All right, you guys ready?
right to it.
First up, take your only son. Can you guys think of any other instances in the Bible besides Abraham and Isaac
Come here, son.
where someone has only one begotten son?
Yep. God.
Yeah, that's right. Yes?
Mary and Joseph.
No?
They were the
Nope.
ones.
And that's not even Joseph's begotten son.
Mary.
Yeah, she had more than one son.
Wait, Mary had more than one son?
Oh yeah. Jesus had brothers and sisters. He was just the first kid. He was the oldest.
Whoa. Why don't they say anything like about his
They
brothers
do
and
in 2 of the Gospels.
Oh.
You just don't read it.
And Jesus, neither do you.
And
They're in there.
Wait, what are their names? Like Billy?
The only ones we actually know are like James and
John.
James.
That's a different John though. There's a James and
James,
John that are brothers,
James,
and there's like
James,
James the brother of
and
Jesus, James.
Oh yeah.
And James.
And then
I can't think of any of the other.
He
I think there's
like-
like one other
I
brother
didn't
that's
like
named.
James.
John.
James,
John the
James,
Baptist.
James,
I can't think of it.
John the
James
Baptist.
and-
No, that's his cousin.
Okay.
Remember that was like Elizabeth and
James
James and
He's like
John,
Bryson.
and then James,
James,
and then John, and then Jesus.
James,
and then Jerry.
James.
And then
Jeremiah.
Michael.
All right, guys.
And then
No.
Thomas.
Shh.
Thomas
Turn it
and
off for a
James.
second, guys. Okay. Next thing to notice. He puts the wood on his shoulders. Do you guys recall any other stories in the Bible where someone has to carry wood on their back? And I don't know, maybe like this is the same wood they're gonna die on a little later. Yeah.
Jesus. Finally, that one works. Jesus.
Yeah, Jesus had to carry his own cross, at least most of the way, until his body collapsed.
Until this guy like.
And then they made some other guy carry it the rest of the way. But he has to carry the wood on his back, and it's so weird to carry the wood on your back when the wood is the thing you're about to get laid on
And
to be
die.
killed
If
on.
I was doing that, I would just like whacked him with the wood. That I was like.
No, Dad! Ugh. Just run back down the
Dad,
hill.
you're crazy!
You go back down the hill, you find the servants. I don't know what happened. Mountain lion just came out of nowhere.
You just gotta find a lot of strength,
got
lift
him-
up that cross, and then
got
just
him
have it
on
on your
one,
back,
I don't know.
belonging, sticking
Like you're
out,
giving
and
me
then
a
just start
giant log to
spinning.
carry up a hill?
Yeah,
Alright,
just
so-
take the cross and just put it on your back, the long end out back, and just start spinning.
There's another neat thing in verse 8 where it says, God will provide a sheep for the burnt offering.
That's good.
But then it's a ram.
It is.
So
Isn't
they-
that interesting?
So this person thinks that his
Think
son
about
is
this for a second, okay?
Wait,
Think
why?
about this for a second. Every time up until the ram actually shows up,
Or
right?
ram.
Every time before that, they say sheep. In some translations, it's actually lamb, depending on which Bible translation you have.
Oh, I thought it said ram.
Well, no. When it says ram in every translation.
Okay.
So all the
Lamb.
first verses where it
Lamb.
says, we will sacrifice a sheep/ram, it might say one or the other. It says sheep or lamb. And then he says, where's the sheep/lamb? And Dad says, God will provide the sheep/ram. And
Well,
then
there's
only
ram.
when it finally shows up, that's the first time you see ram in the chapter. when it finally shows up. So stop for a second. Why
Someone's
would he
calling
be saying a phrase like,
If it's a
Isn't
spam
me.
caller, answer them and
It's
say
him.
911. What's your emergency?
Daniel, it's not
Hang
him.
on.
It's not
It's
me.
Elise.
Is it me?
Answer
I'm
it.
It's not me.
Elise's
for
mom.
that.
Answer it now. Say 911. What's your emergency? Then hang up.
Hello, junior high room. Hi. She is.
Hi.
If
You
I
should
got,
have been all like,
if
Okay.
anyone spams calling me, I
what's your
say
emergency?
911. What's your emergency? Then
I've
they're like, would
lost
you
my
like to
entire
buy
train of
my
thought here.
product?
Oh yeah,
And
she.
I'm like, no, sorry. Do you have a real emergency?
So
No, I say
classic
Dylan's people.
sacrifice.
What?
Classic sacrifice was a lamb. That was the classic sacrifice, and it depended on what you were sacrificing for.
Just sacrificing.
You would sacrifice a lamb to cover sins. That was what the lamb was for. It was to cover
What if
sins.
you wanted to sacrifice
It
yourself?
needed to be blemish free, and any creature that's lived until adulthood, it's got some scrapes on it. Okay, it's got some scuff marks. It's got a few scabs here and there. It's been sick a few times. Like anything that makes it to adulthood, it's not really that perfect looking anymore. And the sacrifice you were supposed to make for sins was supposed to be a perfect sacrifice, a perfect lamb. So when they're talking about the sacrifice, they're talking about like a traditional sin sacrifice. So that's why they keep saying, "Where's the lamb? God will provide the lamb." Da, 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 all the things about the lamb. When God actually provides something, though, He doesn't provide a sin sacrifice. He provides a ram.
Ram. But what's ram mean?
Isn't that interesting?
Lamb.
So
Ram is a
this whole chapter so far is all symbolic of Jesus. Jesus wouldn't come on the scene as a man who lives and dies on a cross, not for thousands of years. So when this happens, it's pointing forward really, 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 really far. And they keep saying stuff that I think is so poignant. It says, God will provide a lamb. He names the place. The place ends up getting called that. Where's that thing about where they call it? On the mountain of the Lord it will be provided. This mountain they go to is Mount Moriah. This is the same mountain where David later makes a sacrifice to stop the angel of death from continuing over the land and killing Israelites. David buys that plot of land, and that plot of land is later repurposed for the building of God's temple by his son Solomon. This exact spot is the exact spot where they would then sacrifice lamb after lamb after lamb for hundreds of years. And it's the same spot where priests were able to stand and watch Jesus die when he died on the cross. But when Jesus died on the cross, he wasn't a baby.
He was a man.
He was
And
a
He was full grown.
adult.
And
He was a
man.
full-grown adult, but yet he wasn't considered a blemished sacrifice because he was sinless. And so everyone was expecting a lamb, but God sent a man. And so I think that's the importance of everyone here in this story expecting a lamb, and then God sends a ram. God's able to provide something perfect in whatever package he deems fit. He can make his sacrifice be what he wants it to be. He can raise up someone perfect and keep them perfect for 30 plus years. That's not something we can do, but it's something he can do.
You can make them perfect by making them sit in a hall closet all day.
They would still have some thoughts in their head that might not be pretty thoughts.
Like hating the person who locked them in a closet.
Okay, you
There
can
you go.
make them. You can make them have to be
No one locked
rich
him in the closet.
and famous
Nope,
and everything
it's
like
never
that.
happened. Lots of rich and oh my goodness, lots of rich and famous people have existed, and none of them have ended up perfect.
Oh really?
Really?
You're
That's
kidding.
gonna happen to me. That's gonna happen to me. I'm just gonna
But
end
you're
up
not
perfect.
perfect already.
Daniel,
jump off
don't you know
I'm
love
hanging
of money is the root of
50.
all good things?
All kinds of good things. Okay,
Slap you over the face and
So-
then slap you again so that Google can't find you.
Google.
I'm not even sure what to say to that except please don't slap him.
Stop.
Finish up this chapter with me, guys.
What?
Finish up the chapter with me. We're done.
Oh.
Finish it. God is
We
putting
did.
Abraham through a test. And the test is not just a test where you pass and you go, yay, I passed. It's a test where you learn something.
I'm alive.
God asked Abraham to give up his only son, and Abraham was actually willing to do it. And that's wild because almost no one is. You ask any loving father to give up their son, and they'll say no. They'll fight to keep their son. And God, a loving father himself, he gives up his son. But in both instances, both sons are willing to go through what's coming. Isaac wasn't brought there against his will. He could have fought back at any time, and he chose not to.
He was literally holding the knife.
Well, no, Abraham was, but like
Oh.
remember, his dad's like over 100 and he's in his prime. Like he could have taken his dad out any time, but he
He could have
chooses
been like,
he chooses
He could
not
have tapped
to.
his dad and
He
let
chooses
him.
not to.
he
He
could
had
have
a
been all
bundle
like,
of wood. You could have just chucked it at him.
he could
but
have
he
been
didn't.
like this.
He
And
could have
died.
taken the whittling knife.
But the
and
same
made,
thing
like,
is
a
true of
wooden
Jesus.
axe.
The same thing is true of Jesus. Jesus comes to the earth, and it doesn't seem like he has all of his heavenly power, and yet Satan in the wilderness, he doesn't tempt him with like, hey Jesus, just disobey God once. Just do something bad. He tempts Jesus with like, use your power. Use your power, man. Do something cool. That's his temptation for Jesus. Now Satan's a smart guy. He doesn't know everything, but he's smart. I don't think he would have tempted Jesus with use your power if Jesus couldn't have. That wouldn't really be a temptation. If Jesus' hands were, proverbially tied and his powers weren't with him, then it's not really tempting when someone says use your power. It's only a temptation if he could have. And so Jesus goes to the cross willingly. If he could have broken free at any moment as the creator of the universe and just said, no, don't put the crown of thorns on my head. No, you don't get to punch me in the face. No, I'm not going to get nailed to a cross. He could have.
He could have been like, snap, you're dead.
He could have just
Snap,
started
you're dead.
shooting lightning at people.
Snap, you're dead.
But he
been
didn't.
like Darth Sidious, just
But he didn't. He chooses to allow them to do what
He
they're
could've
doing
sang
because he
lightning in my
knows
hand.
what the Father's asked for. The Father's asked for a perfect sacrifice. That time it wasn't to test anyone's faith, though. So here he tests Abraham's faith, but he
Could've been
also
like lightning.
shows Abraham the pain and the suffering that a father would go through to bring his son to the brink, to bring his son as a sacrifice. He shows Isaac the pain that a son would go through to willingly be the sacrifice. And these are the guys he chooses to start his country. All of Israel comes from these guys. I think that makes perfect sense. Before he chooses them and before they become the line that Jesus comes from, he shows them what it is he's willing to do. Abraham didn't really have to go through with it, but God did.
that's a bummer, dude.
God actually did go through with it.
What?
God really did send his son. God really did allow him to die.
Did.
Really did.
Not really,
You
though.
said doo-doo.
Whatever.
He didn't
Ah.
really let him die because he wouldn't be alive today he wouldn't be in
What?
heaven today if he just let him die.
He did like
He did let him die.
No, but he wasn't dead for very long.
That's true.
But he was
But
still
he
dead.
did die.
Yeah, but I could kill him and he would be dead forever. But if I killed God,
Unless
or
Jesus, unless
they
God
could come
raised him
back
back.
to life.
That's true. But do you want to die?
Then you get to
No.
go to heaven.
See, that's part of it.
Actually, kind of.
Kind of.
Yeah,
Then you gotta
'cause
go to
he's
heaven.
got a right point. Like, I would be able to go to heaven before everybody else.
So, when you say
Everybody.
don't mind dying, do you mean don't mind the end of your life, or do you mean don't mind the process?
I don't mind either of those.
Because the process for Jesus was not just my life is over.
I could
Like
jump off a cliff and
Torture.
Yeah, you wouldn't really notice anything. You just kind of stop having brain function. That's not what Jesus went through, though. Jesus went through torture.
smoke.
Nothing smoking
What?
at all.
No,
actually.
no, there was a fire below him.
No, there wasn't.
Not for Jesus.
Pretty sure
That's
there
the
was.
Isaac thing.
Oh.
But
Isaac got
they never
burned.
got that far. You do that after you kill the sacrifice.
No, but I'm meaning on the
On the cross?
on the cross when he's
No
hanged
fire.
on the cross. I'm pretty sure he's on the ground's on fire and he has to lift
Nope.
himself up for air.
Nope.
No, that's because of the way he's
No, because you're hung out.
yeah, and his
So if you're like,
Your rib cage gets all collapsed from
Yeah.
the gravity of the situation.
so you actually have to lift yourself up to be straight to breathe, but that pulls down on the nails, ripping your skin out.
I would just lay there.
So
pretty
that'd
bad.
be like having something
Lay?
running straight through your
You're
nerve,
upright.
and
You
then
can't
like
lay.
every time you
Oh,
take a
I didn't
breath,
say that.
that's
He said
being
I'd just lay
pulled
there.
on really hard.
Why don't you just
You're
go?
upright.
Well, I mean,
That'd be
I
like
just,
somebody choking you, just to like the point where you can barely breathe, and every time you breathe, take a breath, they squeeze just a little bit harder, and you can't breathe, and they.
Yeah, torture. That's
That'd be
that's
good.
it. That's torture.
Did
So-
you know that the
Okay, let me
best
torture
form
you.
of torture is
I heard
strapping somebody to a table and then slowly
No,
dripping
Weston.
water on their face?
What?
It can drive somebody mad after like 2 minutes of just a slow drip,
How?
drip, drip on somebody's right here.
How?
Okay.
How?
What
Is
you
that
have to
important
do,
for right now?
Wait, how? I want to try
just
that.
dripping it onto your
Yes.
forehead, because then you
Dude.
get like,
Yeah.
Hey guys.
Oh.
like
We have to
stop it.
finish.
I know it's been going on too long. We need to
Oh,
finish the
that's
conversation.
horrible.
But you guys
Okay,
have
keep going,
distracted
keep
the
going.
conversation.
Next.
I was trying to
I
finish.
will talk duck to you.
That will not help anything. Did it help?
Yes.
I'm so glad.
Stop reading. Start reading.
We're done reading.
We are done reading. I just wanted to make the final point, and you guys keep
Very
interrupting.
Easter.
Okay, make the final point.
You can keep saying make the final point, but that's still interrupting. The point was Abraham got to learn what God was going to go through, even if he
Wait,
didn't
it's
know
your
exactly
birthday?
that that's what it was. Matt, do you want to leave?
Can you?
You could just leave
Yeah.
then.
Bye. You don't get your
It's
phone
not
back.
it's not helping
I
us
don't even
finish at
have a
all.
phone here.
Oh, that sucks.
Anyways, let's pray. You guys are done. Your brains are cooked.
My brain's not.
Thanks for.
Lord, bless these guys. Help them to get something out of today. Help them to take something home with them in their heart. And help all of us, Lord, to truly recognize the sacrifice you went through. The sacrifice you became. The one that Isaac almost was. Help us, Lord, to just appreciate that. To not forget that. To make Jesus' sacrifice a part of each and every one of our days. We love you, Lord. We thank you for what you've done for us, and we're just thankful that you keep on blessing us. Walk with us this week and be with us. We ask that in your name. Amen. I love you guys. Have a great rest of your Sunday.
Okay, can you do
Oh,
the
by the way,
bucket,
I'm
phone
moving to
bucket?
Yes.
China, so.
I'm gonna win.
You're
My
back,
bigger
Daniel.
and heavier and fatter.
Let's play pool.
Get wrecked!
Wait, I think that was a tie.
No, I think this one touched first.
No.
Yes!
Wins.
No.
Yes!
No.
I
I'm
win.
playing it back in my
I
head.
win.
I
I'm
saw it.
playing it back in my head, and it was like this.
No, it was the other way around.
No, it was very close, but it was
Okay.
No, it wasn't. It was the other way around.
definitely
Okay.
not
Dude,
I
I
get
could
mine.
see it from over there.
right.
Here, just redo it. Redo it.
Hershey.
We're not redoing it.
Redo
We're
it.
done.
Redo it. Come on,
Western,
redo
you
it.
literally get a second chance.
How?
Because there's another service.
I'm not leaving
Oh,
yet.
right. Oh, Daniel.
So Weston.
There's so many people that know that. I won.
Daniel, can I show you that?
Wait, what?
Look, see this,
I
see
have
this.
my phone over here.
I'll go grab it.
See it?
There's
so many people that go there. See it? That also go
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, they haven't called.
Where is it? Daniel, where is it? Found it. Got his phone.
That's mine.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, so how do I put
Oh,
okay. No, you can't. Is there a way to just not have
Happy
it?
birthday, Daniel. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Whose birthday is it? I know your password, but do you have a password? Is it Chinese?
No, not
Then if I have it all the way down.
What are you doing?
Actually, you didn't know that?
No.
He just hacked it.
What are you doing? How is it not on my phone? It's so confusing.
Wait, what? Wait a minute, what?
It's the thumbprint reader. It shouldn't just go off for any little thumb.
Is it broken?
It's his thumb on it. It's
I'm a
really
hacker.
weird.
You have the same thumb.
Try it. What? That's total garbage.
Broke?
Oh my gosh.
Anyone can get you.
Alright, how do thumbs work? I want to know.
Wait, I've never seen that before. Is that
I'll
like
try
an
my
app? Or is that what is
Thumb?
It's a through the screen thumbprint reader.
Yeah, but is it the one that like just comes?
It's not working.
It says too many attempts.
Oh,
You can't use the thumbprint reader anymore. Why did I?
What does that sound?
So there's
Hello?
no way that someone can try.
and it still let you in, like
Because
two, three times.
they thought, because they know you're a friend of yours.
Is it possible that
So-
I don't know if this
Did
is
you just
possible
leave
at
your
all,
password?
but like is it possible that like your thumbprint could like it could be dirty and it's
Pop it. I know you
Pop
pop
it.
it.
It's just reading my leftover
pop it.
smudge
yeah, it
of sun.
senses the pressure.
Could be. It's like reading
No,
smudge
it's
on
not.
my
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
what
like
about
reading
more than
the-
that?
I just need to clean off my thumbprint zone.
Go, 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 go. Go, go,
Oh, it's still.
Put in your password.
like rub off your fingerprints and they do it now, now.
It's just not locking now. It should have like 5 seconds, I think. On the lock.
What?
Let me just see your phone.
Does it have on body detection for that?
Daniel, if you use your
I'm
gonna show you the video.
It should just be locked from the fact that
Right
I
there.
used it.
Okay.
There we go.
You gotta release your. You guys.
Not back.
Here, let me check.
There we go.
Wait, let me try.
I've never seen it.
Let me try.
I bet you deleted it.
I need the same fingerprint.
It's crazy.
Let me give it to me.
Let me see.
Why
Get on
do I want my
Get
phone all of a sudden?
on YouTube and let's see it.
You
I
remember
wanna
the
try
time when you
password.
gave me your phone in that camp when I was in high? I just no ser- I wanted to perform the song Oceans for the comp show
That's right.
and you had to go to town and download it whether it was Wi-Fi or something like that.
Yes,
And
yes,
then
yes,
back
yes.
I took it around the campus.
Well, it's not like you can do it.
Wait, Daniel, why do you have so
Sometimes
much
you get embarrassing
inboxes?
text,
Why do
you
you have
take
so
it
many
in text.
inboxes?
Why do I have so many what?
Inboxes?
I don't have.
You have 9 buses on them. You have tons.
Well, I mean, I
Oh, in my
Like
yes,
this.
those are subscriptions.
Dude, I subscribe to you. Did you know that? You have like 8 million subscribers.
Cook has a loop, so everything you place, it keeps on
Paul, answer it.
He has a loop machine. So after he records something like that, he can put it in on the beat and it'll keep remaking the sound.
Where am I still from?
What?
I was in Africa.
The song is
I want to sit over there because I hate this. I need to read. Oh,
It's a classic song right there.
Who's that?
It's a band called.
It's a band.
What's a band? That's a good question, though. You should think
I
about
have
that.
hay.
It's something called.
Why?
In your face!
I fed the horses and I got it all over. And I already swept the barn nicely. And then I had to separate the hay and the box. So just the weirdest thing I've ever heard. I do. I do.
Yeah.
Let me see. Well, I tried to get it out.
What is he doing? He's
But like, I took
Okay,
it
what's the
apart and
difference
then hay and a
That's not fair.
of all
Come on
those
to me.
Okay.
and would let us chew on alfalfa.
Yeah, it's the brain cell. Okay. But then I was like,
That's easy.
Kiki, no.
Jeans on the back. By the way.
That's my money. My money. Minus.
Look at this purse. Isn't that adorable? Take away the hot dogs and add in fries, and I would like it. I mean, I like hot dogs. I like hot dogs. I like fries better.
That might not be yours.
What?
Just a gentle
Oh my gosh,
hug
that's
around the throat.
Here, let me try. Let me try. I like this. I like this technique.
Okay.
In ground.
I knew him well.
Weston killed me.
How much money are you putting me in your
Why did you take my chair? I keep my money when I'm dead. Well, in the bowl. Thank you. Not stealing my banana.
What's this scratch?
Silly! Are you guys being cruddy?
Yeah. I'm a cruddy boy.
Who wants to play?
You're just like, hi.
I'm raising money. Boy. Yahtzee.
My finger. Oh, come on. Why does my finger love to die? Why is there like
50
Okay
people.
then, I won't play Crush.
There's like 2 people.
Oh gosh.
Okay, you should be one. I'm really good. But
You still have
stop.
Wait, you think I can zip it up around it?
We shot.
Don't tell anyone I'm passing out his car.
No.
okay.
Don't tell anyone I'm breaking
Stop.
his car. Don't tell anyone I'm gonna
Okay.
There we go.
No.
Oh, I love barrel.
I want to go. Oh my god.
Martha's so bad.
I know, you have to get 2 people. You have to get 2 people.
I love rodeo clowns.
Take another
Oh, he's here, baby Luigi.
You have to press OK when you have to.
Oh, they are. Especially when they jump in the barrel.
Matt,
Yes, another
What?
other person.
what are you doing?
Well, Luigi and baby Luigi.
Don't tell anyone I'm sitting
Beat
there.
the nuggets out of him.
Yes.
He's sitting there.
Don't tell anyone
Yeah,
I just broke his computer.
In your ear.
Don't tell anyone he's abusing me.
Whoa, I'm zooming. I'm Blair.
Excuse me.
I'm out.
Excuse me.
Now it's really stretchy.
I'm the person who's failing this one.
Oh my god. Okay, so it's like 32. Like that.
I'm in third now. I'm in third.
What?
How to use power-ups.
I was gonna snap it.
Oh, I remember how to use power-ups. I'm doing so badly bad.
So bad.
Whoa!
Probably like 12 and so like
Snaps.
are down by that. And when I get inside, I
Oh no!
and I just like run my head.
Yeah, Lulu.
Because
Yeah, Lulu.
I passed it.